Back, and look who we got here. We got Totalbiscuit joining in on for our next topic, which is going to be all about Twitch, all about that lovely topic, Twitch, and the music policy, the new music policy that came out roughly a week ago. I think it came out maybe a few hours after the show last week, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it. So I had almost an entire week to brew about it, and obviously lots of stuff has gone on. But for those of you that have been under a rock, Twitch has a new policy now that for all their VODs, they are muting any copyrighted music in these 30-minute chunks. So if you have any kind of copyrighted music in any 30-minute portion of your video, it's going to be muted completely. And that's kind of the gist of it. Lots of stuff to discuss, but I figured we'd kind of go through each one of them. So let's just start off with the announcement. So the announcement happened I think it was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday night or was it Tuesday night or was it Wednesday morning? I can't remember. Let me see. Let me see the actual date on it. Whichever one it was. They just kind of posted it. Nobody knew this was going to actually happen. It just kind of surprised a lot.
Totalbiscuit got a call.
Some people got calls.
Yeah, I knew about 5 days before it, but outside of that, so some of the top partners knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, okay.
Because they called around them, but most people didn't know.
Yeah, so most people didn't know. So it was a surprise to a lot of folks, and I'm still trying to bring up the actual post itself, but obviously a lot of people just react to it immediately, and lots of negative reactions to it immediately. But I think the biggest thing about this, let's just talk about the post itself. Your initial reactions to it, Steven, actually, I kind of want to get you. Did you know about it before?
No.
Okay, you're not a Totalbiscuit boat. Yeah, you're not a top partner.
Totalbiscuit's esports club.
All right, so how did you react to it? Just given what was in
Steven
the actual...
betrayed Twitch for owned, they've never seen him in the same light again.
Keep important information from this guy.
I mean, he says that jokingly, but that's pretty much true. The post is I don't understand. Regardless of the content of the post and whether or not you agree or disagree, I thought it was pretty dumb that they just threw this out there. Maybe they were expecting things to go to shit really fast, or not go to shit, but for people to have a crazy response, fuck it, we'll just get it out of the way. People will freak out for 2 or 3 days and then we'll reel it in. But I mean, I don't know. It seemed pretty fucking sudden to me. I woke up and everybody in the entire fucking internet is freaking out about it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they explain basically in this post. They explain to you what. Who they've partnered with, Audible Magic, in doing this audio recognition. Audible Magic has a really close relationship with I think other record labels and stuff in the music industry, or some other
with
big companies.
With the RIAA, yes.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Basically, every possible interest that wishes to control the music industry.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, logical partner. But the thing is that there's been a lot of false positives. Even just in this first few days, and they're doing the best they can right now to try to fix a lot of those, but. As many false positives they have, and the ones that they had with Valve and with even the Twitch Weekly, it just felt like they didn't even. I mean, did they test this thing properly before they launched it?
They probably did, but I can't imagine they tested it anywhere near as much as it needed to be. Once you deploy a system like that on something as large as the Twitch VODs en masse, you're going to get a lot of false positives.
Sure,
but the problem is that the system is obviously so goddamn broken that it's nailing stuff like Destiny's voice when there's no game music whatsoever.
Which is musical and melodic in its own right, I agree. But...
Well, basically, Steven, you're infringing Usher's copyright by sounding too much like Usher, so you better quit it.
Oh, man. Yeah, so lots of that, obviously, and... they even launched this thing without an appeals button. There was no way to even report. I mean, how do you do that? How do you launch this thing without a way to report?
I was livid at the email because it's if it's okay, don't worry, we have a process. Just file a DMCA compliant counter notification.
I know, that's crazy.
Counter notification of what? You didn't give me a DMCA takedown in the first place. What the fuck do you want a counter notification to? You've got to file the first piece of legal paperwork before you ask for a response. You realize if you file a DMCA compliant counter notification, you're basically saying to the people involved, take me to court or fuck off. That is literally what that is. So you're submitting paperwork which is highly aggressive with this in good faith belief that you would actually win in court against the fucking music industry. That's what they asked you for. It just boggles my mind that they wouldn't launch this. They eventually got it in.
Hold on, wait, is that if you get flagged by their ID system by the Audible Magic, that isn't actually a DMCA though, right?
No, it's not. You have to manually file a DMCA claim, and you've got to do it in a specific way. None of this shit is DMCA compliant at all. Just like content ID. It's very
From
much like a
YouTube, yeah.
step beyond the DMCA system.
Why? Why do people? So what? As somebody that has a lot of experience in YouTube, one of the common criticisms levied at this isn't that they're following the law. It's that they're taking it a step further and they're doing like the
Going beyond
precog,
it.
like the thought crime. Yeah. Why does YouTube? Why does Twitch? Why do they step beyond and go above and beyond what's needed by the law in order to mute bias? Why do
Is the answer to that.
Exactly.
There was a very large case a few years ago, which is basically Google and YouTube versus Viacom, which resulted in the content ID system, because that was going to be the first of probably infinite numbers of civil
Lawsuits?
cases that were brought against them. Yeah, because of infringement and things like that.
I thought that the way that lawsuit turned out, I thought that lawsuit proved the validity of the DMCA system more than anything else. I thought in all the summaries I'd read that because Viacom wasn't able to actually like fuck them for hosting copyright infringing content as long as
they
they
ended up
because
winning.
of
I think they ruled in favor of YouTube like multiple times.
Yeah,
saying
that- that's
The
why-
main
that's why
problem is
they didn't
the
want
main
to go through
problem
that
with
court
it-
every single time, or
yeah, well, I mean, there's that, but the main problem is that safe harbor laws under the DMCA only apply if you're proving that you're doing enough, basically, to stop this from happening. Like, you can't have a laissez-faire attitude to infringement on your site, because if you do, then the safe harbor laws that protect the host cease to apply, and you can get sued directly for infringement. Whereas with the DMCA in the way that it is right now, you can't sue YouTube if I upload a movie. Yeah, you got to go after me for that. And the DMCA was designed to protect these sites as well as protect copyright holders. It's not a perfect law. It's actually pretty shitty. But it does have at least a purpose for protecting hosting sites as well. But YouTube didn't want to deal with that shit. I mean, they were already losing a lot of money on YouTube as it is. Google's been losing money on YouTube for years. And they didn't want to deal with the constant lawsuits. So in order to make sure that no one ever brought into question that they were doing enough, they put in the content ID system, which is way, way, way more than is actually required to make this kind of thing happen. And it's very anti-content creator. It screws over content creators constantly. I've been on the bad end of it like 4 times now, I think. And every time I've lost money. Every time. You've
lost money, and it's the stress too of like if you get striked, it's like crazy.
Yeah,
bad.
I mean the last time I actually had to bring the lawyers in to get the shit sorted out. You know, that shit costs money. So the content ID system
a lot of
is
people. I don't know if people can hear Totalbiscuit right now. A lot of people are saying the volume is really low on everybody besides you, ChanManV. Just a quick FYI.
Really? Oh, I haven't changed anything.
Yeah, apparently your Skype volume's all over the place.
Great. All right, let me just turn myself down, I guess. Can't really adjust. The Skype volume hasn't changed at all, so let me make sure everything's cool.
I don't know if Totalbiscuit is just talking into the ethers right now. I'm not sure if people.
No, definitely not. My levels are good here, so.
Oh, okay.
Everything's totally fine.
Yeah, well, everybody's hearing fine, so I don't know. Maybe it's... I didn't change anything since we started, so I don't know what might have changed.
Oh, okay,
well, never mind. Now the whole...
You guys are fucking trolling this.
Now you're not going to have any fucking idea now.
You guys, man.
You fucked it up. That's it.
Oh, God. Okay, going back to this. Where were we? Okay, whoops.
We were talking about the law, I think.
No, I was trying to find the
law
I was
and
looking
content
at.
ID.
Here we go.
The concept of safe harbor, the idea that a host for content can't get sued for what a user puts on their site.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many different aspects to this. You've got like there's the actual like law itself and like the implementation of what they're doing, whether or not that's right and wrong. But like there's something that's like that always sits on like the back burner, and it's important not to mix the two conversations up. But I feel like the second conversation is really important. The idea that like are the copyright laws that exist today, at least in the United States, is it getting to the point where like it's a little bit silly or it's a little bit draconian or it doesn't match? It doesn't necessarily scale to the technology and the way that we implement technology.
That's the biggest
thing.
thing. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
it's
like
out of date, really out of date.
Laws that were written in the 70s or the 80s or whatever.
And not even and as shitty as it sounds, I'm not trying to play like a whole anti-corporate card, but the idea that a lot of those laws came about as a result of, a lot of intense lobbying, like the idea is that copyrights extend beyond a person's death. Obviously, that's not protecting content creators. It's that was lobbied for by large companies that own the rights, to said content. There's like, I feel like one of the sad things is that I say sad, but I mean like what I expect Twitch to activists, I don't know, is that anytime you get a company that's really big and up and coming, and you're getting into this you're getting into this cusp of where like I know that I'm pretty sure you said this, Total Biscuit, and anybody with half a brain knows this, is that this has been long coming, right? Like people are like, oh,
yeah.
we'll just switch to hitbox or blah blah blah. Like, I mean, like at some point you're gonna have to deal with these copyright issues. Once you reach a certain scale, like it's just something it's part of the rule books. Like you have to deal with it, whether you like it or not. I think it's sad that we get to a point to where like maybe Twitch is at that cusp where it's time for them to make a decision. Like, okay, well now it's time for us to deal with it. There's no individual that's ever going to go to court and try to fight it. But maybe Twitch is that company that finally steps up and says like, hey, we don't agree with how copyright plays out. We're going to wait for somebody to take it to court. We're going to fight it. And the reason why I said earlier is I don't know if I'd expect them to do that is because it would obviously cost them a fuck ton of money. But I mean, like it's kind of sad to where we see Twitch is like, well, okay, we embrace the copyright, bam. So you know that those laws, if they ever do get changed in the future, it's never going to be affected because of Twitch or the gaming community, because Twitch has jumped on board we're going to adhere to everything legal bandwagon immediately and not challenge any of the legislation, you know?
Well, let's talk about the timing of all this, right? Like this has been an issue for a long time, you know, and nothing's been done about it up until this point, and it happens to be within a week or two of when the announcement of YouTube, possibly purchasing Twitch. So how much of that is involved with
probably a decent amount, I would think. But of course, nobody is 100% sure that this is happening. We're about 90%, but we're not 100%. And I would imagine that most of this compliance has got to do with, if not to sell to Google, to prepare for sale to somebody else. Because Twitch, in my opinion, is now big enough that if you're going to sell it to a much larger company, one of the first questions is, what copyright liability are we going to be assuming when we buy your company? Are we going to be deluged in lawsuits? Because bear in mind, if Twitch gets purchased by a much larger entity, they become a nice little juicy target for some big lawsuits, because they know that those guys have got money. Twitch might not have money, but hey, Google has money. We can go after them. That sounds like a great idea. You don't engage in a lawsuit for no reason, because that shit is really costly. You engage when you know there's a lot to be taken out of it. And I think they are just preparing for the sale to whoever it is that they're going to sell to. And as Destiny mentioned earlier, like, this was a long time coming. It's ridiculous how long they've got away with this shit, considering the amount of viewers that they have.
Okay, so
I mean, you got to figure, even if there is no sale, let's just pretend that there is no actual sale, that it drew enough attention to them where I'm sure there's a lot of big law firms that are like, oh, this is something we could do.
Yeah.
Like, look at this thing that has millions of viewers that for some reason hasn't been targeted very heavily yet. And so even, like, they're at the point now where they have enough publicity where they kind of have to do something publicly.
Yeah, and
Yeah, sure.
it kind of leads into, so Emmett here, just CEO of Twitch, he ended up doing an AMA the day after the announcement. And, one of the things that were being speculated, and even some conspiracy theories as to like the buffering on the streams and stuff, were whether this was going to happen to the live content, right? Whether there was going to be this kind of content ID on the live content. And Emmett actually answers that no, there's no plans to do it. Like, there's no intentions of doing it. But he answers a lot of other things too, which we can talk about in a second. But that I kind of want to pose that question first. Is this? This is going to happen in the future, right? It's just a matter of just figuring out the technology to actually do it. Because I don't think they have it right now. They don't have
having a mandatory 30-second delay on all streams first.
Right.
Where's my X-Files music?
That was the conspiracy, right? Like, if people are like, this 15 to 30 second buffer now.
Enforced delay.
Enforced.
Makes for very convenient,
interesting, right?
Music identification.
Yeah, but the point is that once there is technology figured out, they're gonna have to do it on the live streams too, right? I mean, this doesn't.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
That's where kind of I disagree with you a little bit. Right?
Okay.
The reason the content ID system is the way that it is because YouTube wanted to create a system that would keep people happy, that would keep this shit at bay. And it seems to me that the way that they're doing this with VODs right now is it's not only a legal difference in sense of a VOD is a very different method of delivery to a live stream. Yeah, if you think about it, really, the reason why a lot of stuff like Pandora is able to get away with things is that people listen to Pandora, and why is it that you can't choose a song on Pandora? Why is it you can't keep choosing the same song? Because what the music industry really hates is the ability to listen to the same song over and over and over again for free. Yeah, they don't really mind a passing listen. That's really not a big deal. But video on demand, that's a different matter entirely. So if you play a song on live, there are different laws covering that, as opposed to a song in video on demand form that you could play again and again, which is stupid because, of course, that song is completely worthless. Because you've got game music over it, you've got game sound effects.
You got some dude talking and grunting over it.
Did you ever see my tweet?
Which one? Oh yeah, your MP3 thing. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Where you made a sound-only version of your
I
stream?
made a sound-only version of a hypothetical Eminem song, and I was like, guys, pirate this fucking song. And pretty much it's just me smashing my keyboard and screaming for like, a minute and a half over the fucking Eminem. That's one of those things that I would like to see go to court. Like, honest to God, I don't fucking believe that anybody in the world is going to stream VODs and ripping fucking music, but, oh God.
Well, how do you...
But yeah, I mean,
Ever.
Yeah, I know, but I understand what
of course.
They're different. Yeah,
those are the same laws that protect
album...
YouTube, right? That are against YouTube, which people actually do rip.
Yeah, well, people actually do rip from there, and you can get perfect copies of almost every song on the planet that way, which is why they did the Content ID system to allow those guys to start claiming those videos, put ads on them. Basically, it's a way of like getting royalties in a way, which, to be fair, for like a complete copy of a song, I'm totally in favor of. The problem with the system, both on YouTube and here, is how fucking indiscriminate it is. How completely it just disregards fair use completely, and it gets shit wrong all the fucking time, It's awful, and it continues to nail VODs to this day for no reason.
And this is one of those things where, like, something that I would love to see go to court, just to see it fucking argued out, is where you start talking about things like you start talking about things like fair use and transformative versus whatever derivative and all that shit. Like how should I have to pay? And you talk about like indiscriminate, like and it's true how indiscriminate it is. Like, let's say I upload all of Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP2. I put all of that on YouTube, completely unedited, completely there. You can download it, and I've got ads up, and I'm making money off of it. Should that kind of a person have to pay for the same kind of licensing as somebody on a stream who has the music in the background, who's just shouting or talking or blah, blah, blah? Or what about somebody who sings over the music? Or what about somebody who has remixes of the music? Like there has to be gradients there, because there's a big difference between, I'm just going to go to YouTube and rip all the fucking music. It's right there. I know how to rip the file, like blah, blah, blah. Like I got the whole album. Versus, oh, well, this guy plays the music in the background, and you can even argue, like, oh, well, it adds to the stream and they make money off of it. But, like, should the licensing really be the same? Should the penalties for misuse be the same? Like, I feel like there's so much gradient there that's not discussed at all, because it's all up to how much money do you have to defend it in court. I would love to see that kind of stuff.
Well, there's no law to cover most of it.
Yeah,
that kind of gradient stuff, and the way that royalties are set up, even online, was all argued quite a long time ago. And unfortunately now, as streaming comes along with video games, and we've already got arguments with video games, like how transformative is this work? You're using someone's copyrighted work. Technically, yes, you're using things like art assets, sometimes things like voice actors, but you are also controlling the character yourself. And we talked about this, I think, when the Let's Play thing came around, when Nintendo was saying, nope, we want the money from everything
all
Nintendo.
Of everything.
Pretty much all of everything. And the difference between, like, occasionally commenting over, say, a single-player game that's very linear, that has kind of set cutscenes and has voice actors, versus playing a game of Dota, right? Where, yes, the art assets belong to Valve, but the game belongs to the players, because each game is fundamentally different. That is like playing a sport on a field where they provide the props and the stadium. It's a very cool argument, and it hasn't been covered in court, really. I think the last thing... Sorry.
It's weird, though, that you say that specifically, because it actually kind of has been covered, and it's been ruled illegal in the past, if you look to covers of music, right? And that's like a big mindfuck where you see an inconsistency, right? So you've got a video game where all the art assets and all the music and all the cinematography, that's all owned by the company, but you say that you own the gameplay, right? But then if you look in like the music world, and let's say that, what's that, let's take any popular pop song, right? Any pop song or whatever.
YouTuber
you could do your own performance of it. Like you could even change the instruments and whatnot. You could do your own performance of it. But technically, that's just a cover, and you actually aren't allowed to profit off of that. You could still get DMCA'd by the original artist, and they could take that down, even though that's your own performance, and you own that performance of it, because you're still covering someone else's work. So it's weird that we get by with the argument that, like, well, we own the gameplay of this game that you completely created, but you can't get by with that argument in the music world of, well, I did a cover of this song, it's my... Like, that's weird, like, right? Like, I'm not saying that we should change everything to fuck everything, but like, you see, like, that's kind of a weird scenario, right? How, like, you could see, like, somebody might...
Music's a little different, right? Because music, there's the actual song itself, and then there's the actual performance itself, right? So there's two elements of it. Songwriters do have rights to... lots of people cover different people's songs, right? Whether they're actual record artists or not, but they always pay royalty to the songwriter. you know, and
Yeah,
in
you
this
need to get
particular
permission for that stuff, and then
I mean,
there's like parody law whereby if Weird Al asks for permission for all his stuff, he doesn't actually have.
he doesn't have to,
in the
parodies.
US. No, he doesn't.
Well, but
Yeah.
that's only
It's just
because
nice.
that's only because it's a parody. That's only because it's a parody.
Yeah, I know.
There are exemptions. Yeah, in copyright for parody. But for the people that they're doing, like, I think I'm almost. Never mind. If you just do a straight cover of somebody's song, even if you change a little bit of the parts, I know that would fall under copyright. You could get DMCA'd for the original artist.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that performance. You know. I was gonna say I don't know if tempo stuff actually falls under fair use or not. But he could probably make the argument that it's a parody, even though a parody. I don't know. It gets complicated.
Some of it
depends
does.
if
Some
he
of it
made
does.
the
I've
beat or
talked to
not.
him about
Like
it.
it depends how much he sampled and whether or not he made the beat himself and things like that.
Right.
That changes an awful lot around. But more to the point, a lot of it is also simply down to the fact that it's not enforced. Like, there's so much of that stuff, especially on YouTube. They can't enforce that shit. It's just too much. And it's become kind of that way on YouTube and on Twitch as well when it comes to that sort of music use. But they've put this system in, which clearly doesn't work properly, to try and stop as much of this from happening and really just kind of take the crosshairs off their back. Because if they kept going this way, it was only a matter of time before someone really came down on them. And I'm a streamer, and obviously I make a decent amount of money doing streaming, and also I know how hard people work when they do stream. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, you never had the legal right to put on your Spotify and just play. The problem is, as I think Stephen mentioned earlier, there's no real way for us to properly license that stuff. And if there was, then a lot of us would probably go down that route.
Well, so that's the thing. Like, I feel like
if Sony or Capitol Records or some shit had a website where I could just go and pay like $100 a month to license music, hell yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I almost feel like Twitch needs to be doing that. Like, that should be the solution.
Oh, you think Twitch itself should be working?
Yeah.
Sony?
So here's the thing with Twitch, right? Why Twitch is so great, and why, one of the reasons why Twitch is so successful is that they've made streaming easy for all of us. Like, your bedroom streamers. I mean, there's people making a living now because Twitch has provided all these services to make this easy for us. And whether it's like subscriptions, right? We can get subscriptions by pushing a button. We didn't do anything except for sign something that says, "Hey, I'll give you a rev share." Sure, I'm cool with a rev share, and then all of a sudden I'm making revenue from subscriptions, which I didn't even implement myself. You know what I mean? And they do that with ad revenue. They've made monetization easy just for streamers. And I think this is another step. Like, they could make this whole service really easy for everybody if they figured out just a really big partnership with somebody that would actually take care of this. And then us as broadcasters, we could opt into $100 a month, whatever it is, to use the music, just in our live streams.
Certainly. Well, I mean, either that or they take a percentage, and it would
fine.
be probably
Sure.
a royalty-based
Fine.
system. You're not going to get
Yeah.
a lot of major labels set up licensing deals where it's a flat fee. They would probably want royalties. But you would get probably a lot of smaller labels who are willing to do that sort of stuff. Absolutely. You've got labels like Monster Cat that are just willing to let you do whatever, and they have grown significantly as a result of that. And I do feel that it's now perhaps in the best interests of streamers to start looking towards smaller record labels, start making their own deals, start sorting this kind of stuff out. There's an artist called Zircon that does a lot of it's video game stuff. OC Remix and all that kind of stuff. And he's got I think they call it the Zircon Vault, which is like 200 songs, and you pay, I think it's like $150 flat fee for lifetime commercial use of all of that stuff, like as part of like video game streams and everything like that. That's a lot of stuff going on with that, and I think there's plenty of places that would offer it. It's just often difficult to find them, and
That's
it
what
would
I
be
mean.
nice, as you said, for Twitch to start working towards building a library that people could access.
Whether it's a library or it's just strike a deal with one of these big partners that it's going to be a lot. I mean, a huge partnership.
Can you imagine the execs at Sony like sitting down and even understanding what that opportunity is, though?
Yeah,
that's the biggest problem, is that they don't even care, man. They're just
barely know what the internet is.
You have to drag them like fucking kicking and screaming into the tech era. Like, it's fucking stupid. Like, it took like, how many years did it take after Napster. I think iTunes came out like 3 years after Napster did. But how many years did it take for iTunes to actually get rolling? Where finally we get like this digital music shit rolling. You know, how many years did like these giant torrent sites exist? Like, if you've ever been a member of like a private torrent site, if you're on Wet CD or Waffles FM, or if you were part of the Oinks Pink Palace, like the draw of those sites wasn't just that the music was free, is that it was crazy fucking easy to access.
Easy to
like,
get, yeah.
fuck, like I can get a whole discography of fucking any band that I want in like 2 seconds. I just search for it, download it, and bam, bang, bada, boom, it's done. And then like to do that in the real world with music is a fucking pain in the ass until finally.
Even if you want to pay for
you
it,
know,
it's a pain in the ass.
Oh god,
yeah, even if you
I
want
got
to
to-
pay for it,
Seriously.
it's
Oh,
impossible.
man,
like
at least
fucking-
someone in the chat actually knows this, by the way. Spotify does not own the music.
Yeah, of
like,
course not.
this is the concept of
license-
rebroadcasting, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have a license for single use, yeah? You, personal, alone. That's it. You do not have the right to rebroadcast that stuff. Spotify doesn't have the right to even give you that right. Yeah? Spotify is set up on a royalty-based system whereby you listen, a royalty is paid by Spotify, and that's covered supposedly by the premium memberships. You can't then play that to 20,000 people and expect the music industry to be okay with it, annoyingly enough. Like, I personally don't give a shit. I think it's absolutely fine to play whatever the hell you want in the background, and it is not ripping off the artists. From a practical standpoint, from a moral standpoint, all of that is bullshit. And how long has the music industry been whining about changing technology?
please,
In the 1980s,
please.
you remember home taping?
They were
is
mad
killing
about
It's not the
Netflix.
artists. It's the record label. Let's get it straight,
No,
okay?
no, it's
the
not the
artists don't
artists,
give a
yeah, it's the
shit,
record label.
okay? Like we have what Psy, who's like encouraging people, you know, and his group of guys were encouraging people to actually to distribute it around for free on YouTube and you know get Gangnam Style huge, right? I mean, the artists don't care. They
Trent Reznor does that now too.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that do that,
Still
right?
shit.
So it's the record labels that are just the crazy folks here that want to make every little penny.
Successful models, the fucking the shitter industries, the movie industry, the fucking music industry, as I said, we're never gonna work. Have finally started to come out. iTunes has come out, and iTunes is pretty fucking successful. Digital music sales work really well there. Fucking Netflix has come out, which is proving the viability of licensing TV shows and sending them there. Fucking Hulu. Shit, but Hulu's out
Stuff like
too.
HBO has their own online shit now too.
Yeah, like,
Oh,
like
wow.
you like Jesus fuck, like we say this to ourselves, like we know this as content creators and as people that if we want to make things work going forward, you have to fucking adapt, right? Like take example, like exactly what we're talking about with this music shit. Like we can't just spend the next 5 years kicking and screaming against Twitch, saying like, oh no, like stop with the music, this is so wrong. You know, the people put up the threats, we're gonna boycott Twitch. Like, oh, this is bullshit. Like we know that we can't do that. We know that we have to figure something out to move forward because that's the only way that we can stay relevant and stay making money. Well, the music industry and the movie industry, they have to think the same fucking way. Like it's absolutely ridiculous how against change or against adapting new business models they are. Like it's so fucking wrong in every sense of the word. Like that shit needs to have fucking, that attitude needs to be gone. Like 2 years or like
well, the
20
movie
years ago.
industry's
Most time,
moving,
like,
right?
the RIAA was a monopoly and kind of still is, and frankly, the way that things have gone online is a huge threat to their established business model. And it's been like that for a long time. Before Twitch, we had Shoutcast Radio, and we had things like Live 365, online streams. It basically was the new generation of pirate radio just through streaming that was happening like 10 plus years ago. RIAA pushed through, in fact, I mean, they were involved mostly in the DMCA, which actually screwed a lot of that up, and it almost killed online radio in its infancy. And thankfully, the idea behind online radio continued and was put into services like Pandora and Grooveshark and Spotify and things like that. But they have always had the best interests of their current business model at heart, yeah? Not the next business model. They're not willing to adapt. They want to slow everything down to their speed, as opposed to adapt onto things that are going forward. They are not a forward-thinking industry. They never have been. And you can see that every single time you see any of these stupid fucking campaigns. They're hardly the only industry to do it. I mean, VHS supposedly was supposed to kill TV and movies. Did that fucking happen? No, absolutely not.
Oh,
Did
fuck,
home
people can
taping kill
record
music?
stuff.
Oh no. You know, fucking TiVo was supposed to kill the television industry. Did it? Fucking no. Of course it didn't. It never does. And any industry that can be killed by a single piece of technology is a bad industry in the first place.
The VOD versus live content thing I thought was kind of interesting because I was told from some people at Twitch that their internal lawyers had decided that they didn't need to even touch live streaming at any point in the future. But I also read an article from Phil Kohler on Polygon where he quoted I want to say it was a copyright lawyer who had said that his interpretation of whatever that law was that you can still you can still DMCA all of the live stuff too, which
That's-
I have no idea. I
that's
don't,
what
I
I-
don't know any
Absolutely.
nuances.
Oh, yeah,
but
Right here.
Yeah, but
That's
you
right
have to
here.
But it's
actually
apparently
physically
ambiguous.
DMCA it. You have to actually put in a DMCA claim.
you can't. Yeah. Okay.
You can't do it
But the problem
automatically.
is that though is that, and when you talk about individuals who aren't represented by, whether it's Totalbiscuit law firm or any other large, like business entity, is that if I'm live streaming music, let's say that I could go to court and I could actually win, and I should get to be able to live stream this. If Sony fucking DMCA's me, I'm not postponing Destiny 2 to do an Indiegogo for legal fees to take on Sony in court. Like, it's never gonna fucking work. I'll never win that battle. The problem with so much of the enforcement, and I mean, we talk about this in esports too, right? Esports contracts don't mean anything if you're not ready to go to court and back them up. Because unfortunately, that's just how the legal system in the United States works, and it works the other way too. Whereas, like, if some big, and this happens to even larger companies, where Sony will sometimes destroy a fucking company with frivolous lawsuits, and like, what are you going to do? Like, especially as an individual, like, you're not about to go to court against a company like that and have a legitimate actual case. Like, you're just going to get fucked because no one has the finances to fight that on an individual level. Yeah. Which goes back earlier to what I said, how it's a little bit disappointing that Twitch, opted out this way, because that means that that's a battle that Twitch has decided they're not going to fight. And no individual is.
Anyway.
Yeah,
They probably will eventually, but
maybe.
it will be with Google backing them, and it will be when they feel that they actually can win it. Because think of the disastrous consequence of losing that. That would be
the implications of how much further
because
would
then you got
pushed.
case law. Yeah. I mean, it depends how high it goes. I mean, this kind of shit can go pretty damn high, and once a judgment has been rendered, that precedent, that's very hard to dislodge. Like, that's the Supreme Court level of having to dislodge it.
Maybe it's even better than so the argument is that it's a little bit better than that we kind of live in a gray area right now, so that there's not that precedent that
we've been living in the gray area for a long time now. Pretty much.
Like, they prefer the gray area than the risk of the black area.
Yeah,
it's like maybe they get the white area, but maybe it becomes okay. This is getting racist, but you get where I'm coming from. With that. They would rather just put deals through and say, look, are you happy now? And the guys are like, okay, fine, just get along with it. We can't be asked for this shit. For now it does, but there's a risk. There's a huge risk that eventually that turns around and it hits an awful lot of people. And the longer this stuff goes on, of course, the more commonplace it becomes, the more people's livelihoods are at risk when this shit does hit the fan.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the DMCA your stream, you're just screwed, right?
Yeah, I mean, DMCA can take your stream down very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's happened, but it's very, very rare. Like, DMCA literally requires somebody from the company itself to file a legal notice physically. Well, I mean,
a lot of people fake it. They just send emails to you. So
yeah, that's
you got to be wary of that.
I mean,
shit too.
The YouTube doesn't have enough against that. Like, they automate too much of it. And I mean, I'd even contest that their DMCA system is even valid. It probably isn't, but it's too easy to take shit down on YouTube. Far too easy. They erred on the side of the copyright holders supposedly, and it really does screw people over in a big way.
And there's no. I mean, we've talked about it in the past, but there's no penalty for that misuse of the DMCA system. But like, even if you can get false DMCA,
but you've got to take the court for it.
Yeah.
Perjury basically is the penalty for it. You can perjure yourself by filing a DMCA notice.
But that requires the other person to take you to court, though, right? Like.
Yes, it does. Which often, of course, they don't want to fucking do.
Even
when
like I've heard so many
fun creators. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go finish. I interrupted you.
There was the company, the last guys that did a content claim against me, Fun Creators. They said a lot of very weird shit, like crazy shit, and we got an actual lawyer involved in it because they wouldn't communicate properly. So I'm like, fuck this. I can't be asked trying to communicate with them. You can talk to my lawyer. So the lawyer starts talking to them. They refuse to believe that this person is actually a lawyer at all, by the way. Like, they think it's just me on a different email.
You're just faking
some of those emails because you tweeted them.
So there's, I mean, it got even crazier than that. Like, you did not see half of it. But at that point, even then, we had a pretty clear case for things like lost revenue, false DMCA claim, and so on and so forth. Even then, like, the lawyer's like, look, yeah, we could probably win this, but you do not want to take this to court. Because even if there's a 10% chance that you lose this is going to cost you a shitload of fucking money. And what's the point? Like, the best thing to do is get them to back off. And eventually we did. It took a while, they're stubborn little bastards, but we got it sorted out. We found a way. And really, a lot of this is, it's just, these guys don't want to sort this stuff out in court because it's expensive. The best thing you can do is try and mediate and communicate outside of court. That's why vast majority of lawsuits actually get settled. You never get to a judgment.
Yeah,
because no
yeah.
one wants to take the risk, It's you cut your losses at that point.
Well, you waste money even when you win, so it's
Yes.
it's just
Well,
wasting money. Like they say, the lawyers
I mean,
are the only
if
ones
you-
that make money, man.
If you win a huge lawsuit and you bankrupt the company, they don't have the assets to cover the fees, and yeah, I mean, like you're fucked out of you. There's no money that's coming from anywhere. I was gonna add earlier, like even like with the way the DMCA system works now, like there's so many fucking horror stories of like there'll be like a person that literally makes a video and everything they use is royalty free and it's sourced out the fucking ass. In the description you can read everything, and they still will get a DMCA takedown from somebody, and they'll and the idea of whether or not to fight it is like the most stressful thing in your life, because if you fight that DMCA and you lose, you get those permanent fucking strikes on your account, and 3 strikes and you're fucking gone. Like everything that you've built on your YouTube is just gone. If you've got, 50, 100,000 subscribers, that's a lot of subscribers to some people, and if you've got more than that, like fuck, like somebody DMCA's you, I mean, I'm probably in the right, and I'm almost positive in the right, but like you fight it and you might lose, and it's like, fuck, like you don't even want to take the risk on. Like I see there are so many fucking. That's why I said earlier about like the DMCA. There's not really like a repercussion for it, because it doesn't seem like there's as much bad shit that happens to people that file false DMCA's versus the people that get filed on.
Zero.
Yeah, you're totally right. The problem with the DMCA system as it stands is that I think my numbers are right here. A standard counterclaim, once that's submitted, so once you receive a DMCA and you put a counter notification in, the guys have 14 days to respond. Business days, yeah? So your shit's down for almost 3 weeks. And at that point, if there hasn't been a response, they have to reinstate it. The content host has to reinstate it. But that's 3 weeks of that not being there. Back when all this fun creators and Gary's incident shit happened on YouTube, I raised the point that there's a real risk that could be used for censorship. And that could be used for streaming as well. What happens when let's say you're on stream and you're playing Battlefield Hardline, which most people seem to agree right now is a soulless cash-in, and you're slamming this title. Like you've got 10,000 people on stream. You're saying, look, this is just awful. What happens if someone from EA decides, you know what? I think that you're using our assets here. I think we're going to DMCA. We're going to shut your stream down, and it takes you 3 weeks to get that shit back. And in the meantime, you're not talking about how bad Battlefield Hardline is. And the only thing stopping them from really doing that is the negative PR, because currently gamers are extremely sensitive to that kind of stuff, which is good. They should be, because there are real possibilities of that stuff getting censored by using the DMCA system, and there's not really a lot they can do about it.
I mean, even if it...
Well, I mean, it happened to me, like, 3 times. Like, from various weird fucking indie devs where I slammed their game and then they DMCA'd my video to stop it from being out. But you get the Streisand effect kicking in at that point, because thankfully, my brand is large enough that it's going to attract people to the story of me getting, censored by these guys. But the real problem is with the smaller streamers and the smaller YouTubers that don't have that same kind of level of brand, because that shit's happened to them too, and they don't get anywhere near the amount of exposure. It seems like there's very little risk involved in that DMCA system.
That misuse of the DMCA for censorship is the most disgusting fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, there should be firing squads for people that do that. To take a law that's supposed to protect... Like, the very heart of the law is you have a guy who manages to make something good, and you want to protect his ability to make money off of it, right? So, yeah, like, at its heart, copyright is a really important and a really good thing, because it protects people that do all that investment. To take a law that's supposed to protect a little guy like that, and then to use that to silence criticism about a product you make, that's so fucking disgusting on so many levels. I can't... it's unfathomable that somebody could do that with a fucking straight face. Like, oh my god,
I wonder what the completion rate of the process actually is on YouTube. Like where
low,
right? Like a DMCA actually just
where it goes to court.
Yeah, where the DMCA
less than 1/10%, less than probably 100%.
I've never even heard of a case.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. Like I haven't even heard of
not for gaming.
Case.
Maybe it's happened somewhere else. I know there's some shit going on right now with a fairly large.
It's happened in mobile. I can tell you, it's happened in mobile.
I think that there's a vlogger who supposedly has been using music without permission, and that might actually go to court. But I mean, that's the only one that I've heard of, and that's been apparently years in the making. I don't know. It's a very strange system, but I think streamers just have to look at this as being a bit of a wake-up call and say, look, you were not going to be able to do this forever. You've got to make a few decisions. Do you value your VODs? Most people fucking don't.
Yeah.
And with good reason, because the the Twitch VOD system is shite. It's complete fucking shite. So what do? Okay, well, you set your OBS or your XSplit to record locally, which means you have a local copy of whatever you were doing. So if you were exporting to Twitch or whatever, and it gets muted, it doesn't fucking matter, because you have an unmuted version that's sitting on your hard drive that you can do whatever the hell you want with. So feel free to put that on YouTube or whatever other video system you actually want to end up using. If you do value your VODs, then just think about using different music. There is so much music that you can take part in. If you're a gaming stream, you can often just use the music from the game itself, or from, say, prequels of the game. Like
Grand Theft Auto or Watch Dogs or something.
Yeah. Don't use anything that's got that shit in it. I can't believe, people are like, but my GTA streams, like, you were running around blasting DMX or whatever it is the kids listen to these days. Of course that was going to be a problem. DMX don't take no shit from nobody. So you can't do that.
Kids
But,
these days in 2005.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, popular music these days, not really into that. But whatever the case, was DMX ever popular? I'm not sure. But anyway.
It was at one point. Yeah.
I'm showing how fucking old I am. This is sad. But whatever
There
the
was
case.
a DMX song in a Rick and Morty episode recently, so you got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end, they go
X is
around
in
beating
fact
the shit
gonna
out of
give it to you
everybody.
guys.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think that the world we live in today, post like all this NSA shit that goes on, I say in the United States, but really around the entire world, I think that we're at a point right now where I think it's reasonable for everybody to look at the possible what ifs when you talk about, so like Totalbiscuit talks about like EA, DMCAing a Battlefield stream, like would they really ever do that? I mean, probably not, but like 5 years ago, anybody that would have told you like even half of what the NSA is doing today you would have been called a fucking idiot. Like, oh, the NSA is going to record every single conversation. Like, come on. Or like they're actually going to be spying. Like, no, but like I would have called people like that fucking stupid. Whereas like now, like I see the 9/11 truthers and shit, and like I don't even fucking know anymore. It's like, well, fuck. Like, I mean, after everything that's come out, and like I don't even fucking know anymore. Like, well, I mean.
Yeah, I remember.
Like everything that's come out, it's enough to maybe like people like the government caused 9/11. Like, dog, you're a fucking idiot. To where like now it happens like.
I mean, yeah, maybe. Right?
I don't know. Like,
feel
fuck.
that way. I fucking hate that I feel that way.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
Because these are people you can easily laugh at.
God.
You're so fucking stupid, man. Yeah, like you're so dumb. Like the technology, and then like, but then after everything comes out, day after day after day after day, it's like, well, fuck. So like, I think we've come to a point where, as society, due to the like, you look at the contextualization of everything that's happened, you look at what's going on with like the NSA around the world. Where like, I think it's fair for us to start looking at all the potential misuses of technology and DMCA content, as Totalbiscuit has said. Like that concept has been proven. Like smaller companies have done this. There's no reason. Yeah, there's no reason to think that larger companies couldn't do it or do it by proxy. A lot of the like, there's been times where like some of the music torrent sites have had really bad fucking DDoSing problems going on over and over and over again. Is somebody from the music industry paying somebody else to do it? I mean, like, it sounds kind of silly, but I mean, like, it's possible.
If you remember, they already did. They used to do poison torrents a long time ago. They would hire companies solely to seed bad torrents and also to acquire IP addresses. That was happening for years. Like, that was on the books. That was well known. So, yeah, absolutely, they would absolutely do that. So, astroturfing is probably one of the biggest problems that we currently have, where companies are hiring marketing firms to provide reviews. It's even further than that. It's infiltration of social media and forums. Like, they will have accounts that they've been building up for years as trusted people, designed to turn on a competitor and fucking slam them when the community trusts that person. Not only that,
they gotta hire ChanManV for that.
I mean, ChanManV's an expert in this kind of matter.
Oh,
so,
man. Oh, man, I deserve that.
But yeah, I mean, it should not be considered something that couldn't happen, because it already has happened. And if you are taking this seriously as a business venture and you want to actually make money from this stuff, then play it safe. I mean, those of us who've been playing around with YouTube for this long have been dealing with way worse shit than Twitch is currently getting. I think the system that Twitch currently has is fucking awful, and it needs to be dealt with. But I imagine that it is getting tightened up. Day one was a fucking disaster area, and they shouldn't have launched it in the way that they did. But I imagine the current state of it is that it's a lot better than it was. It's still not perfect, but it's getting there. And eventually this shit's going to get sorted out. There is going to be no fucking boycott. Nobody boycotted the fucking site. People went to Hitbox for one day. Winter went over there, got 175 viewers, and then came running back to Twitch as fucking fast as his boss would carry him. That is
His,
what happened.
Did you see his last Hitbox stream was actually it was a stream directing people to go back to his Twitch?
Perfect.
Oh,
Just
boy.
perfect. Yeah.
Oh,
Incidentally, I
man.
don't think that Winter actually bots. I think people bought him, but whatever the case.
Yeah,
The-
for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty. No one's going to abandon Twitch as quickly. The value of being on Twitch, and this is why YouTube has really started paying attention to Twitch quite recently, is that Twitch has a very unique quality to it that only really YouTube has when it comes to gaming. It's that people come to the site to find a video to watch, not for a specific video. I don't have to push people to my YouTube channel to get views.
Yeah,
I don't have to push
casual.
people to my Twitch to get views. People come and they stumble across me because they see me on the fucking list. Like, and
Or the front
almost
page.
every night, I'll go online and I'll find a Hearthstone stream or a Dota stream to watch. That's actually that's replaced TV for me in many ways. I've watched
Yeah, I do that
less
too.
Netflix
I
because
just
of
turn it
And-
into
Yeah, I mean, it's just because
And I
Twitch,
will say
Twitch
real
is what-
fast
Okay.
for all the shit that I've given Twitch, right? Because I'll shit on them more than as much as anyone else. Twitch also has the ability that they're the fact behind them that they are very fucking reliable. Twitch has been here for a long time. I can't really think of anything since the inception of Twitch. Maybe like in like the first year, there were times where it took maybe like an extra month to pay or whatever, just getting their shit sorted out. But for the most part, Twitch has been
we had a problem with them
incredibly
for a
fucking.
while.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
You
had to
realize
get it
too, like-
recently, or?
early on, but they've been totally
Oh,
regular.
yeah. Yeah. Early on when they were getting everything set up, yeah, things got a
They
little
were
bit weird
fucking
sometimes, but
joking up.
When it was Justin,
Yeah,
it was
sure,
really
sure.
bad.
when Justin and actually that might have been even before Twitch TV came out, back when they were Justin, but like as over the past like 2 or 3 years, which I mean, let's be real, that's a lifetime in terms of like streaming, which is a brand new fucking
That's
technology.
like 20 ESGNs.
Yeah. Yeah. Having that reliability
That's a
behind it
perfect
definitely
notion.
sets
That
That's
is
funny.
actually.
our new measurement of time.
It's esports
Well,
time.
yeah, I mean, we can have, and we can just go up an order of magnitude to NASLs, you know?
Oh wow!
You
if you
actually-
want something
what's
really
wild about
small,
this thing-
want something really small, just something that you can cut up, it was 3 Alloy Esports, so
Oh man.
You know, like
that
Twitch
joke's so
having
obscure, most
world's
people don't
worst
even know who
VODs,
they are.
Like them having super shitty ways of finding VODs actually sort of works in content creators' favor, just because tons of people were already forced to move stuff to YouTube anyway. Where
Yeah,
they're super strict.
because it was so bad.
Yeah, and so they had to cover themselves anyway because for anyone to
Yeah,
even
sure.
watch their stuff, they have to go to YouTube, which has the like ultra draconian shit. And so it's
but they-
like Twitch's super shitty system actually sort of prepared people in a way.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah,
what I've
really watch
uploaded it to
videos on
YouTube,
Twitch,
right?
but
Like,
sure, that
this
wasn't-
whole time.
I mean,
Yeah,
what you can say about them is they never prioritized VODs and they had no intention of ever fucking fixing them.
Yeah.
Like, they improved the highlight feature for one reason, that they wanted you to export that shit the hell off their site. They didn't want to fix it. They didn't want to properly monetize. The VODs and things like rebroadcast features, do they exist? Fucking no. Like, you rebroadcast an MLG TV, it remembers
God,
where your
it's so
ad
nice.
placement was. It remembers where your fucking ad placement was. So it runs another ad. So you get the same kind of monetization rate. Someone goes and watches my VOD, there's maybe a pre-roll and then 7 hours of ad-free content, which is fantastic for the viewer. Fantastic. Shit for me. Why would I want to send anyone
Right.
that way, you know?
Exactly. So with the VODs, the actual muting, does it actually happen to the source? I always thought it was just
No,
a filter.
no,
It's
the
just a
source-
filter.
the
right?
source is not.
So when you no,
can
This is
download
how
the videos
it
and
used
they're
to be.
fine.
No.
What?
It used to be like literally like 2 days ago, the mutes were done client side
Right.
on your computer that you could bypass. But as
Yes.
of like I read this like I want to say I read this yesterday that Twitch just recently changed it so that the actual FLVs themselves are
Oh,
being muted
really?
now. Not
oh,
a big change.
that's wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That was one of
bad.
the selling
And-
points I was
one
told.
of the
was like,
things
oh,
that
we
makes
don't
me
actually need the
nervous-
video.
Yeah, I'm really worried now. Does that mean that Twitch is keeping 2 copies of everything so that if it
I'm
gets
actually
muted, they
really surprised they're doing that because
If
you
there's
don't
an
you don't have to
appeal
do a
system,
client
they've
side.
got to be doing that, right?
No, but you don't have to do it
no.
client side. You can actually still do it server side. It's just I'm actually
Well,
surprised.
yeah, I mean, are they actually muting the source FLV
Yeah,
file, or
I'm
is it
really
some kind of
surprised that they do
strange?
that.
I mean, I don't know much about programming. I assume it's possible.
I mean,
I
you
don't mean
can,
the
but
one
it's
that
like
You're
it's
downloading is muted or some shit.
I read this on Reddit, okay, so I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay, right.
Oh,
Well, that
God.
could be anything then.
no, because if they do that to this, I don't think it's like you can just easily manipulate the FLV file without like re-rendering it and stuff. I don't think you can do that actually.
FLV is hard to edit and render at the
Oh,
best
it's
of times.
crazy
Like,
hard. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
you can't
I
even
don't
load
know
it
if
into
I'd be able to do
Premiere.
that.
I don't think, right? You
No, I can't. I've never been able to do that.
Yeah,
It just says
so
unknown
it's-
file types. Like, you literally invented Flash. You are the company that made this. What the fuck is wrong with you? But they, it won't go into that, and that's like a professional audio and video editing
you
suite.
might be
so.
able to. I mean, I have some experience in Flash, but not a ton.
A couple
But-
people in chat are saying that, and this is what I've read around it, that they've downloaded FLVs that have been muted themselves after downloading the actual
wow.
FLVs. Maybe some of them were just muted on accident. I could be wrong. If you guys have more experience with video editing, you might know.
No,
But, using a
but
program like
what I mean
using a
is-
program like FFmpeg, like couldn't you theoretically like strip the audio from an FLV file completely, and then have that audio in a separate file, and then in that separate audio file you mute the section that you need to, and then you just take that re-encoded thing, because obviously re-encoding a 6-hour audio file is much easier than doing an entire video file, and then you just use that FFmpeg program to just throw that audio file back on top of the FLV without having to re-encode the entire video. Isn't that possible?
It's possible.
I don't-
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
I
How
mean,
easy
if
it
you can-
is. It's
'cause
not
you would
very
avoid-
easy. Like,
Well, I'm saying that
crazy.
if you do that, then you avoid the whole hassle of having to re-encode the entire video, because that would take up
I just
so much.
I mean, they've
processing
definitely
power.
figured out a way to strip it on the server side, but I still think that they still store the full file on their inner databases. I'd
they
be
would have
really
to.
surprised if they actually change it.
Well, yeah,
on their
it's like,
databases.
it's okay, guys. Your appeal went through. I can have the VOD back.
Yeah,
No, we
exactly. What are they going to do? I
accidentally-
mean, what are they going to do with the sound?
deleted it.
exactly.
We don't have it anymore.
Exactly. So there's
Bad
no
news.
way. There's no way.
can
that-
have
But
it back, but
as
first you have to
a
invent the time
streamer, if
machine.
you are not locally recording your own VODs already, then I don't even fucking know why. Because OBS and XSplit can do it without any impact on your system at all. Like, it doesn't take any extra processing power. Just fucking
Really?
turn
On
it
XSplit
on.
it doesn't? I thought it
Archive your
did.
stuff.
I thought it takes
No,
more.
Not all
okay,
of us
so-
live in the privileged world of Totalbiscuit, though, where we can upload, like 3 gigs of videos a night on our internet. might be pretty
John's recording on
unhappy.
Frapstick
my
the entire
internet's
time.
shit. I've only got
Oh,
5
that's
up.
true.
It's terrible. It's probably worse than yours, I'd imagine.
That's probably
You can
true.
stream in 60 frames per second. I can't even fucking do that.
Yeah,
But-
sure.
So how it works on XSplit is there's 2 ways of recording locally. I don't know how it works on OBS, but
Yeah.
you can click automatically record and it will get a carbon copy of what you're currently streaming. That includes things like, if you do that, that'll include any lag or anything like that. So you can do that, or you can encode separately, which will make a separate local encode, so it's kind of running 2 encodes simultaneously. Now, the advantage of that is you can record locally at higher quality, and say if your internet disconnects or there's
Yeah.
some shitty lag or whatever happens, your local copy doesn't have any of that. But
it's still
that
intensive on
takes
your
a bit more
system, though.
processing power.
It's it
I mean,
definitely
it's not
does.
that intensive.
It's
It's not authentic.
It
not-
shouldn't actually.
Yes,
It shouldn't take
Oh
any.
my! It's pre-recorded.
It shouldn't take any of the processing power at all. It's literally just saving it to disk. It might take a little bit however much it takes to. Yeah, to just save it to disk, because it's not like it has to encode it. It doesn't have to. encode
Oh,
it
it's
a
true.
second
It's only
time,
doing one
already
encoding.
being
Oh, that's
encoded.
true.
Yeah,
Actually, I
the
didn't know
encoding is
about
just
that.
being sent off, and it's also being saved locally. It's
Oh,
not doing a
okay,
whole
okay.
separate-
Yeah, that makes sense. It does make sense. So okay, yeah, it'll be. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if there's a. So when you export using YouTube, just that on the highlights, it exports it without the audio right now to YouTube.
I
Um,
well, I don't think you
it's
can
what
even
some people
export
are-
it if it's muted, right?
I don't know.
If you get, well, Steven, you got one muted, didn't you? Did you get it fixed?
I'm cutting up the quarterfinals tonight, so I'll find out if I can export. But no, I
I
emailed
did. I
Twitch like
downloaded-
3 days ago, and they
I
didn't.
downloaded
I
one
haven't
of the
been able to
videos
install.
from Destiny 1, and it had muted stuff in the VOD, and it wasn't muted in the files I had, and it was okay. But
Yeah,
that was
that
like
could have
4 or
been
5
like-
days ago, probably.
Yeah, that could have been
So,
within.
so
that
if it's
period.
changed since then, I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess just to wrap things up, what kind of things would you like to see? Like even just little features like the appeal button and they are adding a few things. We did talk about just the huge solutions, but are there any little
Fixing the
things you'd like to
copyright
see?
system.
Well, yeah, we talked about
Yeah.
that obviously.
Okay,
But any little
there's
things?
a couple of things that I would like to see, and this is something that Google and YouTube already does,
Okay.
which is actually quite handy. And that's to have a page where it shows you what you just got flagged. You currently don't know. As far as I'm aware, I don't have
Oh,
any
yeah,
VODs
yeah.
that are currently flagged. I also have 72 pages of VODs. It's possible that one of my VODs from 2010 is still fucking flagged, but no one ever watches it, so I have no idea. On YouTube, you've got a little page on there in the control panel called Copyright Notices. It will tell you which video it is. It will tell you exactly which part of the video, and it will then tell you who made the claim and for what. So you can then it's got a button to contest it. YouTube has Twitch has none of that shit. So you're pretty much relying on your viewers to stumble across VODs that are broken, or to know, of course, that there's something fairly recent that's done that way. So that to start with, knowing what exactly you got muted for, it would be a pretty good start, because then you know what to avoid.
Paging through all your VODs, that would be
It's weird that that's not
painful.
implemented
Holy
because
shit.
the back end is already there for that, because they
Exactly,
have to
yeah.
know what you're
Yeah, it
getting
is.
muted for. It's just a design thing that they haven't included that. It's weird that that's not there. I'm really
The whole
curious what I
thing
got
was like
muted
10% done apparently when they rolled it out.
for. Okay. Trying to get it real fast real
God.
fast for that acquisition.
Yeah, there you go.
That announcement
The
exactly.
day after the Justin TV announcement too.
Right. All right, well, just wrap that up. TB, if you want to stick around, I did kind of want to talk about the WCS, WCS points for invitational type of stuff. I don't know if you want to stick
You're a man
around
who
for
has
that or not.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, totally. We
Yeah,
can
he
talk about
definitely
that.
had great thoughts. So the
Can
topic
I'm gonna-
is that. Go ahead.
Real fast, I'm gonna leave because I hate this show. No, my mom is here and shit, and I haven't seen her in fucking like 17,000 years. Okay, Total Biscuit will replace me, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got you back.
I
Don't
love you
worry.
all very much.
It'll be the second
I love
time
you
this
all.
week.
All the Destiny subs that wanted to call in. Sorry about that.
Well, I'll be back in a little bit. Never mind. I'll just mute then. I'll be back in like 20 minutes. Okay.
Okay, that's cool. All right.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. The topic's basically there are tournaments, StarCraft 2 tournaments that award WCS points, and these tournaments are partial invitationals, partial qualifiers. And the question is whether there should be some kind of percentage, like percentage of the total player pool should be a certain, like 50%, or I don't know what the percentage is, or should the whole thing have to be a qualifier to actually get WCS points, that sort of bit, right? I mean, all the big events aren't all qualifiers, so I don't think you could do that, but there should be some kind of percentage, and I know Total Biscuit, you had at least a post on Twitlonger, and you said a few things about it too, so wanted to discuss it because I think it's a really good point, because a lot of these, there are some players who haven't really performed that great in WCS, and because of some of these invitationals or invites they're receiving, they do have more points than some other players.
Remember the old MLG system where you could do well in one MLG and then just be seeded for the rest of the year?
I do the next year.
Control
The next
was there
year.
for like 2 years. Like, why?
Hey,
is
I'm not
Control
naming
still
anyone.
here? I'll name him. It's fine. Jeff even himself said that the system was fucking stupid. He placed 4th